Welcome to your Daily 5 for Monday, December 11th, 2023. Well, we talked about one bizarre film in our last show, which was the Forbidden Zone, not the Forbidden Zone, but I was about to say the movie Forbidden Zone. I keep wanting to put the in front of it. But we talked about Forbidden Zone and also Tiptoes, but Forbidden Zone was really the closer film to the movie I'm going to review today. And I really did not intend to do two movies of this type back to back, but sometimes things just work out, because I went into this movie and I expected one thing and I got something quite different. So this is another very, very artsy, pretentious, weird film from this is the very end of the 80s. This is 1989, and the movie is called Dr. Caligari. Now, Dr. Caligari may seem familiar to people even if you've never seen the movie, because there is a film called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari that is a very well-regarded early cinematic movie where this is a period of time, I believe it's considered a German expressionist or impressionist, I can never remember. But essentially there are films from the early 1900s, well, really when film was still early and people were experimenting with the visuals of it. And this is one of these movies where there's a lot of, you see the influences everywhere, but it's hard to kind of describe. But if you go watch it, I'm sure it's on YouTube everywhere at this point. But it is a highly visual experimental film with a lot of surreal kind of imagery, interesting use of sets that clearly don't look real but project atmosphere and kind of depth with the way things are sculpted and the way things are artificially kind of manufactured. It's very, like I said, you could sit there and describe how these types of films are for half an hour because there's so much to them. But this movie it's positioned as a sequel to that one. And technically, I guess it is, because the story, and there is definitely more of a story to this movie than Forbidden Zone had, but the story is loosely related to the original film and the doctor of that film. The main character, or one of the main characters of this movie, is the granddaughter of the original Dr. Caligari, who now runs a mental institution and is treating a number of patients with various different afflictions, but the two that we primarily see are a woman with an overactive libido and another one who is a cannibal. And she is doing human experimentation on them to try to achieve the transfer of consciousness. Now, I just said that in a way that sounds like it might be very straightforward and could perhaps be a legitimate film in terms of how it's presented. But this movie is described as an avant-garde erotic horror film, and that is pretty much what it is. Now, when the movie starts out, you might think that you're going to veer into Cinemax, or more accurately, Skinemax territory because of some of the stuff you're going to see. But it actually tamps that down quite a bit. So it starts off very heavy with a lot of nudity and stuff that you can't watch in front of kids. And then it really kind of retreats from that, not in terms of what is said and some of the mannerisms, but you don't get as much of a graphic display as you do up front. In fact, I didn't know for a little bit, probably the first 10 minutes or so, whether this was going to veer into actual pornography, which there are films that were low budget, artsy films, Caligula being probably one of the more famous ones, where they did have actual pornographic acts. That does not happen in this. But you would not be, I couldn't blame you if you thought that's where it was going to go in that opening 10 minutes, but it does not. It's such a weird movie. You can watch it in its entirety on YouTube. It is exactly what it's described as, but it's very light on horror. There really is no horror in this. It's more of just a strange attempt to make a sequel to The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and inject a lot of sexual overtones into it in terms of the psychosexual stuff that's going on. I mean, I don't think there's any real basis in terms of psychology or psychiatry in what's going on here, but that's the way that it's framed. It's a riveting film. I'm just not going to recommend it for everybody. But if you like something like Forbidden Zone, you want something with a little bit more story and a lot more color, I will say that. I love the color in this movie. It's just it's a very, very colorful film. Then you might like it. Like I said, you can watch it on YouTube in multiple places. Definitely an art house film for the right kind of viewer. But it's, again, 1989, Dr. Caligari. It's not for everybody, but I had a good time with it, and I would guess that people who like stuff like Forbidden Zone will probably like this one too. So if you are into that type of film, then yeah, you should watch it because it's certainly unique. Later.